Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Fantasy Football Fallout. I'm Sean Ryan. I write the Fantasy Football Almanac, and because I write that, because I have a lot of readers asking me questions, and because I also gamble quite a bit, I watch every single minute of every single game of every single week, and I'm bringing the notes from a fantasy football and daily fantasy point of view to everybody here. So today we're talking about the Detroit Lions versus the Arizona Cardinals in Week 1. The game was in Arizona. The Lions came out and they suffocated basically the Arizona Cardinals offense for quarters. Now, here's what I'm concerned about for the Arizona Cardinals. I saw this in preseason and I'm seeing this unfold in the regular season as well. Defenses seem to be crashing up a little bit on Kyler Murray and this offense. This offense wants to throw a lot of quick, short routes, short outs, short slants, all that stuff. Well, when the defenses are crawling up and basically trying to take that away, the only way to combat that is to throw the ball and have a developed down the field passing not technique, but down the field passing attack. Okay, so Kyler Murray, he is trying to push the ball downfield, but he's under a little bit of duress, and while the defense is crashing up, they're also affecting, I think, David Johnson's numbers. Now, statistically, David Johnson did okay by the end of the game, but because all the defensive players were lined up so close to the line of scrimmage early, I thought he could have done better. It's not that he did poorly, it's just that he wasn't getting the opportunities that he should. For Arizona, I find it interesting that, the rookies that everybody knows about, Hakeem Butler, who I think is on IR now, Isabella, those guys aren't really factors yet. You're seeing Keyshawn Johnson, another rookie, I believe. You're seeing Bird as the third and the fourth receivers there, and I think they'll continue to do that for a while. But I thought earlier in the offseason that Larry Fitzgerald and Christian Kirk were going to have a lot of opportunities to score well. I still believe that. Now, Fitzgerald kind of popped off at the end of the game there. Kirk didn't really have a great statistical game, but he did have some opportunities, and I think he will flourish given enough time. And honestly, I'm sorry, Cardinals fans, but I think the Cardinals will be behind. I think this game will repeat itself over the time. I think they're going to struggle early, and as teams have a lead and they go more towards a prevent defense later in the game, I think those short and underneath routes will be there. So that's when Fitzgerald, that's when David Johnson, that's when Christian Kirk will really get their value throughout the season. Kyler Murray, I like him quite a bit. He's a great athlete, but this is a very real criticism. His height, I saw a lot of balls batted down and batted up at the line of scrimmage. Now, what happens when balls get tipped and tipped into the air, that leaves teams susceptible to pick sixes. I think that's going to happen. It didn't really shake out that way against Detroit, but it's just a reality. When you have a shorter quarterback, you're throwing the ball against 6'4", 6'5" defensive linemen. You're trying to throw the ball over 6'8" offensive tackles. It's hard. As somebody who's sub 6 feet myself, I know that when I played and when I played competitively, playing against tall people, it is an issue. So it's something they'll have to work around. They're going to have to move the pocket, but NFL defenses know that. It's going to be a work in progress, but I do think Kyler Murray does have value. I like him quite a bit. I like this Cardinals offense quite a bit. If they can, open things up and push the ball down the field and have more success throwing the ball deep than they did in Week 1, then I think things will even open up more for a guy like David Johnson. As for Detroit, I think the Cardinals did a great job stopping the run. I like Kerryon Johnson in the season. He didn't play so well this week, but he didn't really have a ton of running room. He is dynamic. They didn't use him a ton in the passing game, and he is a weapon in that passing game. They just didn't game plan him that way. I think he's going to be fine. If you have Kerryon Johnson, keep him. Don't trade him. Don't put him in part of a trade offer based on Week 1. He is going to have bigger games. C.J. Anderson, they're going to make him be kind of the short yardage back, and they use him to spell Kerryon Johnson a little bit. I'm not too worried about it. I don't think you should be either. Kerryon Johnson's the guy there. It's just going to be a slight committee. It's not going to be a full committee, so I'm not too worried. Galladay didn't have a huge game, but I think he will. The thing is, the secondary receiver for the Lions at this point looks like Hockensen, the rookie tight end, who looked fantastic. Again, defenses are going to adjust. I don't think he's going to dominate every week. I think teams will start to pay closer attention to them as we move forward. But if you need a tight end and he's available in your league, pick him up. I think he's going to be a good one for you. Stafford, I think this will be a typical game for him. I think this team will try to rely more on the run, but they will throw the ball. I don't think he's going to have a 5,000-yard passing season like he did a few years ago. I don't think he's going to throw for tons of touchdowns like he did a few years ago. I think, what we saw in week 1 is what we can expect going forward this particular season. He does have that talent within him. He's the kind of quarterback that the team is always in the game, especially late. He likes to, if the Detroit Lions are down and they have to open up the passing game, he will still be, viable from that point of view. But, it's just going to be kind of a not rough on look for him, but I think it's just not, he's not going to be the Stafford he was a few years ago. So there you go. There's the fantasy football fallout. Again, David Johnson, things will open up if they can push the ball downfield. I still like Kyler Murray, but let's leave him as a daily fantasy type player. Christian Kirk, Larry Fitzgerald, I think you can play them in fantasy or daily fantasy. Kind of stay away from everybody else for the Cardinals. And then in Detroit, if Hockensen is available on waivers, you need to pick him up. Galladay will be fine. Kerryon Johnson will be fine. And Stafford, to me, is more a daily fantasy play than a weekly starter. To stay tuned for another episode. If you could just like us, subscribe, comment in the video below. We'll be doing this week in, week out for every game of the NFL season.